Good morning, I'm Craig DeGrelli. It's Thursday, May 1st, 2025, and these are your Unbiased Updates. A deal between the United States and Ukraine giving the U.S. access to rare earth minerals in that country, how it might affect the war with Russia, and the latest on negotiations for the conflict to finally end. And the state of the U.S. economy. GDP falls in the first quarter, yet imports are pouring in. What President Trump is saying and the key factors going forward.
From the Straight Arrow News Studio, bringing the stories that matter to you from across the United States and around the world, these are today's Unbiased Updates.
The United States and Ukraine have now signed a long-awaited minerals deal. The agreement, originally set for February, was delayed following a tense Oval Office meeting between President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in front of the press corps. The minerals deal is a long-term economic partnership granting the United States access to Ukraine's rare earth minerals, including aluminum, graphite, lithium, and uranium, as well as oil and natural gas. For Ukraine, it means the United States will likely continue supplying military aid to the country. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says the deal creates the United States-Ukraine Reconstruction Investment Fund, which will help accelerate Ukraine's economic recovery. In a video posted on X, Bessent also said it's important for Ukraine's national security.
Today's agreement signals clearly to Russian leadership that the Trump administration is committed to a peace process centered on a free, sovereign, and prosperous Ukraine over the long term. It's time for this cruel and senseless war to end.
The Trump administration is continuing efforts to broker peace between Ukraine and Russian President Vladimir Putin to end the war that is now in its fourth year. Russia has proposed a three-day ceasefire beginning next Thursday, May 8th. However, President Zelensky has not yet accepted the offer and has voiced skepticism that Russia will honor its own proposal, saying it's designed to deceive the United States. The U.S. State Department again this week pushed for negotiations to move quicker. The United States is stepping into the fray as tensions remain high between India and Pakistan after last week's deadly attack on a tourist area in disputed Kashmir. Secretary of State Marco Rubio urged Pakistan's Prime Minister and India's Foreign Minister to de-escalate the situation during a call on Wednesday. That's according to the State Department. India has vowed to punish Pakistan, accusing it of backing the attack, which left 26 tourists dead. Islamabad denies those allegations. Since the attack, the nuclear-armed rivals have expelled each other's diplomats and citizens, ordered the border shut down, and closed their airspace to each other. In addition, New Delhi has suspended a crucial water-sharing treaty with Islamabad. Soldiers on each side have also exchanged gunfire, ratcheting up tensions even further. Kashmir is split between India and Pakistan, but both countries claim they own it entirely. In Washington, Senate Republicans narrowly voted down a Democratic resolution to block President Donald Trump's global tariffs. The 49-49 vote was decided when Vice President J.D. Vance, who is the Senate president, broke the tie and voted no. 3 Republicans broke from the GOP to oppose the measure: Lisa Murkowski, Rand Paul, and Susan Collins. The resolution would terminate the April 2nd national emergency President Trump is using to impose the tariffs, effectively blocking them. Even if it had passed in the Senate, the vote was largely symbolic, as the bill likely would not have made it through the House, and President Trump was certain to veto it if it got to his desk. One other note on tariffs. President Trump said on Wednesday that Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney is looking to make a trade deal and will visit the White House in the next week.
To President Trump and his cabinet, yes, I am not afraid of you.
The Columbia University student arrested 2 weeks ago by Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents following his citizenship interview, Mohsen Madawi, is free from federal custody, at least for now. Madawi's legal team had petitioned for his release, saying he was unlawfully incarcerated. The U.S. government accuses Madawi, who has permanent U.S. residency, more commonly known as a green card, of undermining foreign policy. A federal judge in Vermont ordered the government to release Madawi while his case proceeds, saying he poses no flight risk. The judge also told Madawi not to leave the state where he has a home and attend school remotely, except to travel to New York City to meet with his lawyers and go to the university. A big jump in imported goods, along with the slowdown in American consumer and federal spending, all contributed to a key report on the state of the U.S. economy on Wednesday. The Commerce Department says gross domestic product was down for the first quarter by 0.3%. Analysts had anticipated a gain of 0.4%. GDP is the sum of all goods and services produced, in this case from January through March. It's the first quarter of negative growth since early 2022. Imports were up by more than 40%, which is important because imports are subtracted from the GDP. Meantime, exports only rose by 1.8%. One top economist told CNBC that some of the negativity is due to a rush to bring in imports before the Trump-imposed tariffs go up. Consumer spending increased by less than 2%. That's down from 4% in the previous quarter. Despite all that, the Dow was up by 141 points, while the S&P 500 rose by 8 points, and futures are up again this morning. President Trump reacted to the economic news on his Truth Social, saying our country will boom, but we have to get rid of the Biden overhang. This will take a while. It has nothing to do with tariffs. Be patient. It's worth noting that 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth would mean the United States is in a recession, so this next quarter will be key. Finally this morning, a new satellite that is designed to study the Earth's forests and provide unprecedented insight into how they impact the planet's carbon cycle is now in orbit. The European Space Agency's first-of-its-kind Biomass satellite will weigh the planet's trees and determine their carbon dioxide capacity. The ESA says the Earth's forests collectively absorb and store about 8 billion tons of carbon dioxide, which regulates the planet's temperature every year. Deforestation and degradation mean that stored carbon is being released back into the atmosphere, with many scientists saying that's contributing to climate change. The ESA says right now there is a lack of accurate data on how much carbon the planet's estimated 1.5 trillion trees store and the way human activity can impact that. But they're looking to change that. So how will it work? Biomass is equipped with radar. It can penetrate forest canopies and measure woody biomass, which are trunks, branches, and stems of trees, where most forest carbon is stored. The ESA says those measurements will act as a proxy for carbon storage. According to the BBC, the satellite is currently over the Amazon, one of several rainforests that it will study. Should be interesting when the results come out. Those are your Unbiased Updates for this Thursday. We'll see you back here tomorrow. For all of us here at Straight Arrow News, I'm Craig DeGrelli. Have a great day.